This is a media literacy on tobacco advertising brought to you by the Missoula Youth Forum for Children and Tobacco Free Missoula. Tobacco is the most preventable cause of death and disease that we have in the United States. It kills 440,000 people per year. That's basically the population of Wyoming that is killed every year due to tobacco. 90% of smokers started before the age of 18, and 1 out of 3 smokers dies from their addiction. Tobacco kills more people than car crashes, alcohol, murders, heroin, crack, cocaine, suicide, fires, and AIDS all combined together. Tobacco company advertisements send about $30.7 million a year, or a day, on tobacco advertisement, and over $5 billion a year. 50 million of that is spent in Montana alone. And 85% of adolescents who buy Marlboro buy either Camels, Newports, or buy cigarettes either by Camels, Newports, or Marlboros, which are the 3 most heavily branded advertisements. Advertisements are created to convince you to buy a product, to provoke an emotion, and to provide an emotional experience that looks like reality. But media messages are not reflections of reality. They are put together carefully to send you a specific message. And that's kind of what we're going to do today, is look at this and deconstruct some ads and see what they're really trying to sell instead of just tobacco. Big Tobacco secret strategy has been that tobacco companies have called kids the replacement smokers. That means that they're supposed to replace the 1,200 smokers who die every single day. Advertisements have been proven to be, and in the past were directed towards youth. And the tobacco companies have really, it's illegal to advertise towards youth, but they still are able to do it. And just to kind of create the scene, here's a letter that was given to the advertising company from Newport Cigarettes, and it says, "We have been asked by our client," and the client was Newport Cigarettes, "to come up with a package to design, a design that's attractive to kids. And the base of our business is the high school student. It is the in brand to smoke if you want to be one of the group." So this is just to prove that this is what the tobacco companies know what they're doing, and they are out there doing specific advertisements towards kids. And it works. In 1997, the year that Joe Camel was considered to be illegal to advertise now, and it was the result of this statistic that 91% of 6-year-olds knew who Joe Camel was, the same as Mickey Mouse. And that's kind of the reason why he was deemed illegal, because obviously he was very, very, very effective. Here's another one from the 1950s that a lot of people may recognize, and it's the way that they used to sell cigarettes, and it's kind of a fun little addition to how things have changed.
They sure work hard, don't they, Barney?
Yeah? I hate to see them work so hard.
Yeah, me too. Let's go around back where we can't see them.
Gee, we ought to do something, Fred.
Okay? How's about taking a nap?
Hey, I got a better idea. Let's take a Winston break.
That's it! Winston is the one filter cigarette that delivers flavor 20 times a pack. Winston's got that filter blend.
Yeah, Fred. Filter blend makes the big taste difference, and only Winston has it up front where it counts. Here, ahead of the pure white filter. Winston packs rich tobaccos specially selected and specially processed for good flavor in filter smoking.
Yeah, Barney, Winston tastes good, like a cigarette should.
Now, thank goodness that we can't use, that it's illegal for them to use cartoons for advertisement now, but it's just kind of a reflection of what used to be. Media literacy, which is one of the reasons that, or one of the purposes of this presentation, is to help develop skills to deconstruct media messages and to understand the pieces that make up the whole. They teach us to take a second look at the media-saturated world and to educate so you're not manipulated. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some specific ads, we're going to look at them and see what they're really trying to sell. As far as advertised placement, that's a huge, huge thing for tobacco advertisements, to make sure that they place ads at a certain level. And you can see these levels are all very low. And a lot of convenience stores are paid to put tobacco advertisements about a 5-year-old eye level, so that when a 6-year-old walks into a store, their whole world and views are just consumed by these bright colors and these many, many, many advertisements. Another thing that you can see is we've got, we can do cigarettes right with the pop and the beer, just kind of a whole collection of different advertisements. And again, the cigarette advertisements above the frozen Mountain Dew, which is very, very popular for youth. So this product placement is just everywhere. As you can see, all the cigarette advertisements in the background, you've got the candy. And another thing you can see on this one is we've got little toys up here and all these flavored candy cigars, which are down pretty low. And then we also have fun little jawbreakers right here next to the cigarette filters. So these are kind of just things to really look for and watch out for, and to see why would they place those two next to each other. And the reason is because tobacco companies do pay a lot of money for stores to place ads at a certain level in a certain place, and to put this product out in front of toys. And as you can see, we've got advertisements in below, and we've got some toys, and right here we have the cigarettes. Again, just product placement from the cigarette advertisements. And this is another very, very popular thing, is to find the tobacco next to the candy in a lot of different stores, and down at a level where you can see it and it's very visual. This is another thing that the tobacco companies are out doing right now, and this is the new flavored cigarettes. And they've got flavors such as chocolate, citrus, vanilla, peppermint, toffee, and as you see, the list goes on. And these are the different things. Well, do these sound like candy, or do they sound like cigarettes? And do you think some guy that's been smoking for 45 years is going to want these, or is some little kid that's just going to start or wants to collect this fun little can going to be more attracted to this advertisement and to this type of product? This was a Christmas card that was sent to a 15-year-old in the mail, and she wrote a letter and said, please remove my daughter from this mailing list. But this was the advertisement that she was sent. Now, if you look at this advertisement, it looks nothing like an advertisement that would attract my grandpa or anyone like that. It is definitely directed towards youth, towards the younger generation. You can see from CDs, cell phones, rollerblades, bright colors. Down here you have two individuals that look like they were kind of over at a sleepover or something, and 80% of girls start smoking with friends at some kind of a sleepover or outing. We have look fabulous, live it up, and do it in color. And if you really just stop and look at this ad, there's so many different components to it, and so many different things that suggest that it's for young, it's for youth. You can see over here we've got a speedometer, and it's going about 120 miles per hour. Just different things like that you, if you want to look into it, it's very, very blatantly towards youth. There's a plane on there, an airplane. Well, it does cost quite a bit to be a smoker. If you start smoking and you smoke a pack a day, you start smoking when you're a freshman in high school and you stop smoking when you're a senior in high school, you would burn up almost over $8,000, which could pay for a year or maybe 2 years of college or a new car. So these are types of things that we really try to get the youth to understand and to look at. But again, a roller coaster, bright colors, and all those things are totally directed towards youth. So why are more women smoking today than ever? There's tons and tons of reasons. In the 1950s, there's this huge move for women liberation and independence. And so Virginia Slims caught right onto that, and they were just like, okay, we've got to get on this bandwagon and do all these things. And so they totally went this whole, it's a woman's thing, find your own voice, and they sold it. But it's kind of ironic because instead of being liberated, it's actually an addiction, and you are so stuck and drawn to it. There's peer pressure, marketing, stress. There's the makes you skinny idea. Smoking in the movies is out of control. It's acceptable, and it helps regulate the hormones. A lifestyle ads. Let's look at these two ads. So many. On this one on the left, we have, it says, so maybe we define practicality a little differently than you. Well, if you stop and look at this ad, practicality is not something that is presented in this ad whatsoever. A convertible is not a practical car. Those shoes are not practical shoes. Her behavior is very, very risky. She's driving with one hand draped over the steering wheel without a seatbelt, and she's smoking a cigarette with the convertible top down. So these are kind of things that we try to get the kids to look at. Just stop and look at this ad. Is this realistic? Is this true? She has just a very, very beautiful young woman without wrinkles and with white teeth. Are those things realistic for someone that smokes? would you have enough money to buy cars like this? These are kind of just the points that we try to bring up with the kids all the time. And then we've got another one on the right who's a very young, hip chick, and she has, some days I'm burgers and fries and some days I'm totally tofu. Well, you've gotten a whole bunch of demographics when you're having an ad like this, and so it's just kind of it's an all around, like, get the good hometown girl ad. On here we have the Glamour Exotic campaign, and this is done by Camel Cigarettes because they're no longer able to do Joe Camel, but they still have these kind of cartoonish figures. And what's very interesting about this ad on the left is that there's this woman, and she is outside, and she's glamorous and exotic and very beautiful, and you don't really know what she's wearing, so you can kind of leave that up to your imagination with these, hidden behind these fishnet tights. But she's holding a remote in her right hand. Well, I don't know many TVs that work outside and why you would need a remote, but the whole idea of power, the person in the house with the remote is usually the one that's in control of the channels and control of the TV. So this woman is beautiful, she's glamorous, she's exotic, and she has the remote. Well, this could be directed towards guys, or it could be directed towards women. It may be an independence thing. The ad on the right, again, is very unique because you've got this glamorous, beautiful, exotic woman, and she's in the 1950s. But the interesting thing with this is that she doesn't have roller skates on, she has roller blades on. So when we stop and I tell the kids, look at that, why? Another one that I've heard youth say about this one, which is kind of interesting, is they say that she's a service and she's delivering exactly what you need and what you want and what you order. So I thought that was a very, very interesting observation by the youth. But the reason why she would have blades on instead of skates is because youth can relate to blades more than they can roller skates. So it's kind of just this hidden, unique, subliminal type thing that's in these ads. It's a woman thing. Here's the Virginia Slims. Again, Virginia Slims is just marketing crazy, and it is a women-specific brand. And, it's not called Virginia Slims for anything. I don't think they would call many if it was called Virginia Fatties. And it's a woman thing. This one on the left is pretty interesting because it says it's not just a bath, it's an aromatherapy meditation. Don't bother me now or you'll regret it later zone. Well, basically what this is implying is that, as a woman, you're stressed out, you can't handle the world, do not talk to me, leave me alone, I can't handle anything, I just am going to come and have a bath and smoke my cigarette. And that's the only way that you can deal with anything. And it's very interesting about this is that aromatherapy is a relaxation through candles and smells. And, well, it's not very realistic to be able to relax with all those smells and those candles if the cigarette is burning right in front of your face. So again, just another observation that we try to get the kids to note, like, is this realistic? She's beautiful. She has no wrinkles. She has white teeth. Do you think this woman actually smokes? Do you actually see the cigarette in their mouth? Is the cigarette ever burning? And just these kind of observations. Is it realistic to smoke in the bath? The one on the right, again, is that same, independence. Why do we apply mascara at 55 miles per hour? Because we can. Well, it's very interesting on how, you look at this ad because, again, it's trying to do this whole because we can and we are women and we do this. And it's, it's a cigarette, which is an addiction, which just harnesses you and grabs you and it never lets you go. And it's very, very hard to quit. So you become dependent on the cigarette versus, just on yourself in this. But they've used it to sell this product. Again, risky behaviors. If she is driving 55 miles an hour with her elbow, that's very bad. She doesn't have a seatbelt on. And just kind of another really interesting take and ad from Virginia Slims. The Come Out and Play ads by Newport. The big old Fire It Up campaign. All Newport ads you'll find couples in, and it's kind of interesting. Again, the women are both kind of looking out of the ads where the men are not. The women are, I had one kid say that the women are kind of inviting you in to come and join them into this pleasure, the Newport pleasure. The girls have white teeth, they're pretty again. I don't know the last time that, when it was realistic to actually smoke a cigarette in a waterfall or a water fountain, whatever that is. So again, not realistic, but by her hand being out there on the ad on the left, it's implying that she has a cigarette in her hand. Is it realistic to dance while you're smoking? And this girl is very skinny and, just all these things that if you really stop and look at these, they don't really make sense and they're not really true. Here's a new type of thing, and this is the first time that we have ever seen a cigarette in the woman's mouth or in any model's mouth. Now, again, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're smoking it because you can't see any smoke, but it does mean that it's going towards a different type of woman. I mean, this ad and these ads are directed towards somebody else completely different than the aromatherapy meditation ads. This is more of your rebel type ads. So they're just being very holistic and trying to get any kind of the population in any type of thing that they can. The one on the right is At Least You Can Still Smoke in Your Car, is a bash at public health and the new smoking ordinances. And so they know exactly what they're doing. And when kind of you look at this, the guy, do you think he'd really be smiling that big if the girl turned and, had ashes in his face of the cigarette, and just kind of the sexual content that is found in the ad itself. Marketing strategies towards guys very different, as you can see, from the pastel colors of the meditation one to these hard, harsh colors of the Lucky Strike, and that has been proven through a lot of research through the tobacco companies have done and the advertising companies have done of what colors that guys like and what's most attracting to them, and it's reds, black, and whites, and so you can see they've utilized all those in these ads. The product placement on the one on the left is very interesting. Obviously, they have stuck the emblem right above the girl's butt, which I don't think was on an accident at all. And the guy, you can kind of see on the left, it's really hard to see, but you can kind of see right there, he's definitely not watching her play pool. He's definitely staring somewhere else. Again, the interesting thing about this ad is that they have taken away the faces, and so they're no longer people, but they're objects and they're images, and that's kind of just making people, objects instead of your personality and getting to know someone and different things like that. The one on the right has a lot of sexual content. It's hard to see, but this window right here is open, and she is actually in his top, a button-up, top shirt that he had. So again, it implies a lot of things that just happened or could happen or did happen, and he's kind of this rebel, kind of scary looking guy as well. So again, very, very differently than the women ones. The most successful campaign ever of all time, bigger than any other campaign that's ever been out there, is Marlboro. More effective than any Coke or any kind of ad, and it is because it is so unique, and we actually live here in Montana in Marlboro country. And these ads are kind of directed, you can either go any way, but basically they're kind of directed towards this guy that is in Chicago that's stuck in this cubicle on the 34th floor of downtown Chicago, and he can't go out and see scenery like this like we can. And again, if you stop and look at it, how realistic is this to be smoking a cigarette while you have one hand in the reins and the other hand you have a rope and you're riding through some water with some wild horses? It's just, it doesn't make sense if you really look at it. Like, why would they do that? Or if you're riding a buck and bronc, like, is cigarettes the first thing on your mind? What's the point? What's the purpose? Why are they doing this? And it's just this adventurous, rugged, manly type thing. Get the Gear. If you look at these ads, it's very interesting because they are definitely directed towards youth. But at first glance, you're like, well, are they really? But yeah, I mean, you look at this truck. Well, can a high school kid afford a nice Dodge truck, or can some 45-year-old guy that's been working for quite a while, it's more realistic for him to afford this truck. But a high school kid, he can afford a pack of cigarettes more so than he can afford a jet ski or a motorcycle. So it's definitely directed towards youth. They think it's cool. They think that, I can afford that if I smoke that much, or if I can just get those, or, and it's very, very attractive towards the youth. Targeted marketing. These are groups that have low use rates, and the tobacco companies are like, oh, well, this group isn't, it's not using as much as we would like them to, so let's go ahead and make campaigns specific towards different individuals, and that's kind of what the idea is behind some of these ads. In third world countries, advertisement has gone out of control. As you can see, Michael Jordan and David Beckham on these things. Well, at first you're just like, oh, that's good, Michael Jordan, David Beckham. Well, then you look down and you realize that there's cigarette advertisements in your money. Well, why in the world would they do that? Well, it's a ton of money, and we know that these two individuals don't smoke, and so they can't advertise cigarettes over in the United States. But why not advertise it in third world countries where it's kind of an overall theme that everyone in the United States smokes? Tobacco in the movies is a bit out of control right now. We're going to watch a clip about what has happened in the past with tobacco advertisements in the movies, and still how it's not supposed to be there, but what is still going on with tobacco advertisements.
The Liggett Tobacco Company paid $30,000 to show Eve cigarettes in the movie Supergirl. The guys who make Marlboros paid over $42,000 to have Lois Lane smoke them in Superman 2. And in 1988, Philip Morris Tobacco beat them all by paying $350,000 to show Lark cigarettes in the James Bond movie License to Kill.
So that's, product placement is illegal now, according to the master settlement of tobacco companies. But we'll go ahead and look at this, and we'll just kind of show that maybe it isn't as illegal, or maybe they're not abiding. It is illegal, but maybe they're not listening.
Sorry, little ingrates!
Now that was a PG movie, and that's Men in Black, and obviously you can blatantly see that there is tobacco advertisements there. What a thing that is very interesting is that in 2003, 74% of all U.S. movies depicted smoking, and 3/4 of those were youth-rated movies. So 75% of U.S. movies are having smoking in them, where only 21% of the United States population actually smokes. So we're social norming it, making it look like a lot more people smoke than they really do. And 6 out of the 10 of the biggest box office hits were rated PG and showed particular brands. So product placement and brand is supposed to be illegal. And the funny thing is that you can say, well, maybe the tobacco companies aren't paying them, that they just decided to pick Marlboro. Well, that would be very, very silly to advertise for free for a certain company. So you know that some things are going on. And movies such as Secondhand Lions and Runaway Jury, Mona Lisa Smiles, Uptown Girls, all very good movies, all really youth-oriented movies, all depicted certain brands of cigarettes. Music and sports, again, cigarettes are all over. There's sponsorships, there's lyrics all the time about, stealing a pack of Marlboros, and different things like that. We have the spirit of the United States, Winston and football. Well, are this realistic? Can someone that smokes a ton sing really well? Are they going to get a raspy voice? I mean, can you smoke a cigarette while you're playing football? Does that make any sense at all? And then we have major sponsorships by tobacco companies. We've got the Winston Cup and NASCAR and Marlboro and Marlboro cars. So there's there's tons and tons of things that once you start looking at it, you realize how saturated our media and our world is with these advertisements. Chew is as addictive as cigarettes. A lot of people don't know a lot about spit tobacco right now, but there is a lot out there on it being a very dangerous tobacco and a lot of different things of the commercial use of it. 1 can of dip equals 80 cigarettes. That's the amount of nicotine that you can find in 1 can of chew. So it's about, if you chew about 2 cans a week, it's about a pack and a half a day. And there's more nicotine and it stays in your blood longer, so it's much, much harder to quit. And it's a very, very addictive substance. The health of spit tobacco users are 50 times more likely to get oral cancer than a non-user. And as you can see from this slide up here, what this guy has is called leukoplakia, and it is a white patchy thing. It's kind of like leather. It's almost a callus-like, and it forms in individuals that are using spit tobacco, and it is precancerous cells. So if anyone sees this or feels this or looks at it and does oral cancer screenings on themselves, if they move their chew around or if they quit chewing, then it actually will stop and it will not develop into cancer. So it's a very, very very important thing to keep an eye out for. So you really, really want to be careful with that. It causes many kinds of different cancers, the esophagus, the stomach, pancreas, and just lots of other really, really bad things that can happen with spit tobacco. Now, Montana use rates is pretty alarming. 9% of males and 4% of females in the 7th and 9th grade are current users. 23% of high school age males and 6% of females are using smokeless tobacco right now. Now, the problem with this is that the national average is 6.7%. So we are more than double the national average. And for the first time ever, we have more high school boys chewing than we do smoking. So Montana goes back and forth with West Virginia as being the second highest in the nation. Wyoming has the highest spit tobacco use rate in the nation. But Montana is second or third, depending on the source of the the stats. And so that's very, very important to note that it is a huge, huge problem in Montana. And 28.8% of Native American youth use spit tobacco, and 21% of Native American youth use spit tobacco on school property. So, I mean, this is just a huge, huge problem that we need to deal with. Moist smokeless tobacco, which tobacco companies call it smokeless because they want you to think that it's harmless. And so that's kind of why we try to stay with more of spit or chew type things. But the spit tobacco companies is the only growing segment of the tobacco industry, because chew sales or cigarette sales have decreased around 10% in the last couple of years, but spit tobacco has actually increased. And Cherry Skull is for someone who likes the taste of candy, if you know what I am saying. And that's a quote from the Wall Street Journal off of the United States Tobacco Marketing Strategy for Sales. And as you can see, the more money they spend on advertisement, the more sales they get. And so it's just a direct correlation. And this is one that was taken right off of the U.S. Smokeless Tobacco website. Pro sports and activities are highly, highly correlated with spit tobacco use rates. Pro rodeo, pro baseball, NASCAR, and now you're seeing it outdoor recreation and poker. All sorts of different areas. Now make the cut. Now let's look at these two ads and see exactly why they're so drastically different than the cigarette ads. And the reason is because you can't do these things if you're smoking. It would be really, really hard to hike up the mountain with with your mountain bike on your back if you were smoking a pack of cigarettes, or even if you were a smoker. I mean, you're being out of breath and all. Again, a stroke boulder, a pinch braver is their big thing right now. With very much outdoor recreation. So they're kind of going away, not really away, but they know they've got baseball and they know they've got rodeo, so now they're branching out. A bit braver and legendary. This one is just really awful because this ad on the left came out 2 months after 9/11. So basically, they did that whole thing where we defined advertisement earlier. Well, what they've done is they've taken something that provokes emotion. You know, a month or 2 months after 9/11, someone's flipping through a magazine and they see a firefighter and it says a bit braver. Well, one's going to stop and probably read it because we were so in tune and so emotionally connected to that event. And then it turns out that it's a tobacco advertisement, you know, and how realistic is it to have a big old dip in when you have a gas mask and you're fighting a fire? I think that's probably going to be one of the furthest things from your mind. So never compromise again. There's the hardcore cowboy Copenhagen type thing, which has been going on for years and years. Ty Murray is one of the biggest sponsors of Copenhagen. And Copenhagen is one of the biggest sponsors of Ty Murray, who's a national bull rider. And it says, I never walk when I can ride, and I never ride without my cope. So it's just this huge push for Copenhagen and cowboy life. And then a game time, the hunter outdoorsy type deal with that. Today's flavors, this is a new big thing by the tobacco companies. Again, we saw this with the cigarettes. Well, this is also true with chew. And they have tons and tons of different flavors. And this is called the graduation strategy. And what they do is they start you out on these apple and berry and vanilla and, you know, peppermint and pouches that have pretty low nicotine. And the reason why they do that is because they want you to have this kind of candy flavor, this good feeling, and get this little rush with it without getting sick. Because if most of us took a dip of Copenhagen, we'd throw up right away, because it's like putting, 4 to 5 cigarettes in your mouth and smoking them all at once, and you're going to get a nicotine overdose and you're going to get sick and turn green and throw up. But with these smaller ones, you're not going to have that problem. So what they do is they start you out on these flavors, these fun, and then you need a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. The next thing you know, you're on Copenhagen, and the chances of quitting are almost impossible because it's just so stinking hard. And then you can get up clear into the Copenhagen bourbon flavor, which is Copenhagen and alcohol mixed together. So it's kind of just their scam and their theme to try to get you to increase your flavor or to increase your use. And again, there's kind of pink flavors and there's purple and there's, it's really marketing and directing towards girls these days too. And one thing that we have heard in the past that girls are doing is they're taking the Copenhagen and they're taking a little razor and they're slitting between their toes and they're stuffing the Copenhagen in between their toes. And the reason they're doing that is because they don't want to get caught with the Copenhagen in their mouth and lose their teeth and be caught with it in school. So it's kind of a new thing that they're doing, which is absolutely awful, and who knows what kind of health repercussions that's going to start. A new spin with the Solution. The Solution campaign is this huge push right now, and they're going more for white collar individuals, that New York downtown executive type things, because they can't smoke in their offices anymore. And as you can see on the left, it says, with all the smoking areas removed from the building, Phil knows his next best option is to head straight for, and then you turn to this page, it's the Solution. And if you note, these are the low flavored kinds of Skoal. It's not a hardcore Copenhagen. Now see, there's Copenhagen that is on there is a low flavor or a low nicotine flavored kind. It's not your intense hardcore cowboy Copenhagen. And so you know exactly what they're doing. And it says down here, it says a break from the pack. Well, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get all smokers to switch to Copenhagen or to chew, because you can do it inside. They have ones for baseball games and on airplanes and on and on and on. And these ads are showing up in USA Today and Business Week and all sorts of just crazy, crazy new areas that they're really hitting hard, besides your Popular Mechanics and your outdoor magazines. They're going for new things. And then this is the outcome of the Solution. I mean, this is the truth, and this is what it really is going to look like. And these are the types of things that they need to be showing, because this is just disgusting, and what can happen if you chew. This guy has lost his complete bottom lip. And this guy, his name is Gruen. Gruen started chewing when he was 13 years old, and by 16 and a half, he had full-blown oral cancer. And I mean, this is just, the guy he's this great, great guy who had a full ride scholarships to University of Miami and University of Nebraska and all these offers to play baseball. He had an incredible, incredible baseball career ahead of him. But then he got caught with, he didn't get caught, he developed oral cancer. And they've done things like taken his fibula out and broken it into 3 pieces and tried to make a jaw out of it. They've taken his pectoral muscle out and tried to make a jaw out of it. They've taken his scapula and all these different things and really tried to help so he can just maintain. But he goes around the United States and talks to kids about tobacco prevention and use, which is very, very effective for the youth and is absolutely incredible. And he is very, very well received in the communities. Another thing that everyone should have a heads up for is Altera is Philip Morris. Altera has changed its name. It's kind of Philip Morris. And what they've tried to do is try to change their whole look. And this is kind of one of the things. It says Philip Morris International and Philip Morris USA are trying to address societal expectations. They are continuing openly and honestly about the health effects of cigarette smoking, helping to prevent kids from smoking, and providing information to help quit smokers who have decided to quit. Well, if you look at their materials, they're absolutely terrible, and they are proven not to work. I've flipped through them before, and they say stuff like cigarette smoking combined with genetic disorders and lifestyle choices may, but highly unlikely, will cause some kind of cancer. That is the only thing in those books about health effects. So it's their good guy act, it's their good guy campaign. And what they do is they develop these things, and that's how they can advertise on TV now, because they're saying, oh, youth smoking prevention. Well, we've got this program. Well, Philip Morris, and they just repeat their name over and over, and that's how they get on TV. One thing that they've done in the past is they donated $30,000 worth of blankets to the homeless in one of the metropolitan areas. And then they spent $3 million advertising that they did that. Well, the only reason they would ever do that is because it gets them on TV, it gets their name out there, it makes them look like the good guys. Again, because they can't advertise on TV anymore. And R.J. Reynolds has launched a school-based program called Right Decisions Right Now. Through this program, R.J. has provided free materials to middle and junior high schools and the tools to ongoing good decisions. Well, again, they never say anything about don't do it. They just say, wait till you're an adult and those things. And then the reason why these schools are taking it is because they don't understand. They don't realize what is happening. I mean, the school budgets are so, they're so restricted these days and so low that if someone's going to send them free videos and free posters and free curricula, because curricula are very, very expensive, then they're going to take them. And this is right here is an example of the Right Choices Right Now campaign. The posters are awful, and the graphics are just terrible, and they spend millions and millions and millions of dollars every day advertising their product. Then they can make graphics for a prevention plan a lot better and a little bit more effective. But they know what works and they know what doesn't, and they're going to do what doesn't work. because why would they want to do that? Another thing that they've been proven to do is they give out scholarships to individuals who have never started smoking. Well, they have to write a 10,000 word essay or some kind of crazy length essay on the reasons why they never started smoking. And well, if you think about that, that's great, that's nice, but they get to advertise that they're doing it, they get this big old promotion out of it, and then what a better way to figure out how to get kids to start smoking is to see why they never started smoking in the first place. So again, just kind of interesting. So what do you think we should do? Some countries have banned tobacco advertising completely. Now the United States has they have decided to ban it from billboards and from TV, but it's still able to be in magazines and stuff. And they said that you can't do product placement in movies, but as we can see, they're finding ways around it. They're manipulating the system and they're doing things to get that to happen. So there's the truth advertisement, which is out there, which is kind of fun and effective. And there's no wonder tobacco advertisements hide behind sexy models. Now this is more of a truth, right, compared to those things that we were looking at earlier, right? This is pretty effective and pretty funny, and the kids usually really like this one. We've got counter advertisements where you take a real ad and you flip it around. So instead of Joe Camel, we've got Joe Kimmel, and it's pretty effective little ad, I think. Counter advertisement for Marlboro Country. Welcome to Marlboro Country. As you can see, they're a little bit different from the actual cowboy and the hardcore stuff, but a little bit more truth-telling. And then Secondhand Smoke Kills. I think that one's just kind of funny. It's got the whole idea and the effectiveness of it. Counter advertisement again, taking a real ad, flipping it around, and showing the truth from it. And again, the solution, candy or cancer, not the solution. So these are the type of things. And smoking increases the risk of erectile dysfunction by about 50% in men and women. So here is a counter ad for that, and it's just kind of telling the truth and exactly. And if this was, put up on Malfunction Junction, I'm sure it would be a little bit more effective than the actual Marlboro ad itself. And here is a commercial that California put out a couple years ago, which is quite good.
And that's about it.
The state of California took note of all this last June when they began running this commercial on television.
Now that medical researchers believe cigarettes are a leading cause of impotence, you're going to be looking at smoking a little differently. Cigarettes. Still think they're sexy?
So that's kind of a counter ad, which is in ways that we can, educate individuals on the truth about smoking. Now, again, we've got a whole bunch of counter commercials, so we're just going to take some time and look at some things that youth have actually come up with and have developed, and which are quite effective.
I wonder if these guys are actually going to talk to us.
Hey, I think that's it. Can I help you?
Yeah, we're just wondering, why don't you tell people there's arsenic in cigarette smoke?
And why don't you?
All just focus on the positive, 'cause positive's the way you ought to be. Why don't we all stop being so derogative to the big tobacco companies?
We asked, is nicotine addictive?
We told you that it's not.
Okay, then maybe everyone just likes it a whole lot. So why destroy the research? Do you think that they're afraid?
No, we're just getting ready for a ticker tape parade! Oh, let's try to focus on the positive. Sure, they may kill 4 million folks a year, but let's stay focused on the positive. There's plenty of us still here.
So what if we remove a lung?
You shouldn't be depressed.
It's really for the best.
It's something off your chest. And yes, we know tobacco causes cancer of the bladder. It doesn't really matter. They make diapers for adults.
His tumor was malignant.
But look, he's not indignant. He knows.
You've gotta just stay focused on the positive.
Every 8 seconds a smoker dies. It's become routine.
But let's stay focused on the positive.
No 7 seconds in between.
Know what I mean?
We'll just stay focused on the positive.
They're not marketing to teens. They're reaching out to our youth.
So let's all focus on the positive. We're positive. That's the truth.
Hope there's some thirsty people inside.
Attention all tobacco executives! People say you add ammonia to your cigarettes, which makes them more addictive, but you say it's for flavor. Well, we couldn't agree more! That's why we made the one and only ammonia.
Nothing tastes better after a long day of shredding documents and avoiding pointed media questions than ammonia. It burns a little on the way down.
Good deal.
It's the flavor that addicts. Tobacco companies say they add ammonia to their cigarettes for flavor.
I don't want to try it. It looks gross.
Would you like a sample of ammonia?
We work at.
We're with Truth, sir. Where's that?
Truth is everywhere.
We don't have no truth here, so I want you to go back down there and go back outside.
Would you like some ammonia for your exercise?
I want you to go back outside.
It's got real ammonia goodness.
Get on outside.
Why don't you kick them out? They put ammonia in cigarettes. Does kicking me out make you thirsty? Because I can give you a delicious cup of ammoniate right here.
Stop!
What? What's the problem?
This ain't so good, man.
Ammoniate, the flavor that addicts.
So it's kind of funny how they just take it and flip it around and really, go into the tobacco companies and do some of this work, which is quite effective.
As you know, Washington is full of memorials to people who've died. Well, today, we're here to build a new one. The Tobacco Memorial. 1,200 loyal customers dead every day. These are mothers, fathers, brothers. This is so everyone in America can see what Big Tobacco is really up to. If anyone finds this offensive, so do we.
And youth can usually get away with a little bit more than adults, and so it's kind of interesting to see, the things that they come up with and the advertisements that they do or that they put together are very, very effective.
Doctor, we'd like to get your professional opinion on smoking.
Smoking is the most preventable cause of death in society today.
Okay. Thanks for coming in.
Sure, I have much more information.
No, that was great.
87% of lung cancers are caused by smoking.
Very,
Enjoy your flight home.
Tobacco use is responsible for nearly 1 in 5 deaths in the U.S.
So 4 in 5 are actually not related to smoking at all, correct?
That's a good point.
This is unbelievable.
Okay, bye.
Jan?
Nicotine is an addictive substance. As tough to quit as heroin.
Heroin? Doctor, do we look like rock stars to you?
Cancers of the mouth, the lungs.
Jan?
Larynx, pharynx, kidneys, bladder.
Jan?
Thank you.
Of course, this is just my opinion, but we live in a society fraught with dangers. Lots of people die from bee stings, but you don't see warning labels on bees, do you?
Doctor, how quickly can you be in Washington?
If you're a tobacco executive, seeing someone lying here shouldn't make you uncomfortable.
It's what you do.
You make an addictive product that puts 1,200 of your customers here every day.
Every day.
So you target someone like me.
Someone like me.
Someone like me as a replacement. To you, seeing this isn't uncomfortable at all.
It says business is good.
But what if you can't find someone like me as a replacement? Now that probably makes you uncomfortable.
When you've got an extreme thirst, you know there's only one thing to reach for. A can of Splode. With 100 times the carbonation of ordinary soft drinks, Splode is intense. So if you think you can handle the pressure, grab a Splode and obliterate your thirst.
So again, just effective campaigns that have been done by youth. And what does Big Tobacco really think of us? Well, the Winston man who used to do tobacco advertisement asked a tobacco executive why he didn't smoke, and the executive replied, "Are you kidding? We reserve that right for the young, the poor, the black, and the stupid." So basically, this guy that's driving around in this incredible cars and these expensive mansions that they're living in, this is what he thinks of people that actually smoke and that actually use their product that they're getting rich off of, which is just absolutely incredible that they can live with themselves. Missoula Forum for Children and Youth has a number of these presentations that they're able to do, anywhere from violence to obesity and any type of thing. So if you ever want any kind of media literacy or prevention presentation to be done, you can contact Jens at the forum, and here is his email, his phone number, and the address for the Missoula Youth Forum. Also, if you ever have any questions or concerns about tobacco, if you would like quitting information or if you would like media literacy information on tobacco, you can always contact me at Tobacco Free Missoula, and that is at the City County Health Department. And again, my number is right there, and my email is right there. So all these type of things, any kind of media liter presentations are definitely something that we would love to do for anyone. So thank you very much.